Senator Humphrey is a patriot and a statesman, and I am proud to introduce him to you. Welcome, Senator.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. What a great honor it is to be introduced by New Hampshire's premier and most principled political family, that of Mel Thompson and his sons and descendants. Thank you, Tom. Well said in your remarks, and thank you for that kind and gracious introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to join with you in expressing my utter contempt for what the federal government has become. And in order more adequately to express that contempt, I have brought a special object of derision with me today, which I shall now unveil before your very eyes. There it is. This is a working model of the federal government. The money, your money goes in here, Congress flushes it away, and you know the rest. Well, in honor of, or I should say in recognition of today's date, I've labeled this the IRS, this toilet the IRS, but it could be as easily labeled today's White House. It could be as easily labeled as this miserable Congress that is astride our nation's future. It could as easily be labeled the entire federal edifice, which has erected itself in Washington and from shore to shore. This toilet is meant to express contempt, and it is not only acceptable but urgent that we express our contempt for what the government has become. What can we say about it, except that it's malodorous? To use a plain word, to use a plainer word, it stinks. In plain English, the Congress and the government reek of dishonesty, reek of immorality, reek of unlawfulness, reek of violation of the Constitution, reek of immorality and unethical conduct, reek of everything that is execrable that can possibly be in government, including despotism and tyranny. And I don't use those words lightly. I never thought I would hear a former United States senator saying such things. I never thought it would be necessary to say such things. I never thought such things would be true, but they are utterly true today. Let me just briefly recount the experience we had with the struggle against Obamacare. By the way, I offer you my congratulations because you won that battle. You won the battle for public opinion. When the proposal was first laid on the table, most Americans were rather indifferent, and maybe there was even a majority who were in favor. But by the time you educated the American people through rallies such as this, a majority of those who had an opinion were against Obamacare. And that majority was growing and growing and growing. And if that weren't enough evidence, if that weren't enough to slow down the Congress and to give pause for careful consideration and reformulation, bringing to the American people reforms that are consistent with our love of freedom, then the election of Scott Brown in Massachusetts was directly a rebuke to the president because if you will remember, Scott Brown's principal campaign plank was opposition to Obamacare. He said, I will be the deciding vote against Obamacare. That was a direct rebuke of President Obama and of this gosh-awful plan to take over the entirety of the medical care system in this country. Did he listen? No. Power should be exercised modestly and with restraint. And the greater the power, the more modesty and restraint should be exercised. But instead, he came roaring back and shoved through the Congress by every low and nasty and foul means, including lying and including bribery, and shoved that thing down our throats, even though a majority of us opposed. Now here's the critical point. Here's the critical point, and these are the words of Thomas Jefferson from the Declaration of Independence. Governments derive their just power from the consent of the governed. With respect to Obamacare, we did not consent, we do not consent, and we will never consent, and that a government which forces its will upon the people because it cannot obtain their consent, that, ladies and gentlemen, constitutes tyranny. That is tyranny. President Obama and the Congress, principally the leadership, Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid, are tyrants. This is tyranny. They are tyrants. They are not only tyrants, but they are liars. And it's time that the American people recognize those facts. We hope to have a second American Revolution in November. That is our goal. That is our goal. Our motto between now and then should be throw the bums out. Throw the bums out. Nearly every last one of them. Let's have it. Throw the bums out. Throw the bums out. Throw the bums out. Well, okay, you've got it. There are, of course, a few exceptions, and mighty few, and one of them will address you momentarily, Congressman Thaddeus McCotter. But the vast majority of them deserve to be thrown out, and don't be too discriminating, just throw the bums out. So let me finish with this. What happens after November? Honestly, I was there 12 years. Congress was no bargain even in those days. It is infinitely worse now. You know what is the fundamental problem? Power corrupts. Power is addictive. Even the most of those who go to Congress are idealistic at the outset, but they soon become addicted to power. They soon become enamored of re-election. They soon become enamored of a career in Congress with that luxurious pay and those steady pay increases and that medical care that's so much better than ours, and a pension system that surpasses anything you can dream of. Let me just pause parenthetically so you won't think I'm a hypocrite. I have never applied for that pension system that would be based. I'm not patting myself on the back, but I don't want you to think I'm a hypocrite. Look, power corrupts, power is addictive. We will never succeed on any long-term basis until we further amend the Constitution. Our forefathers, the founders, were skeptical about human nature, but unfortunately not skeptical enough. So how do we do it? We call a constitutional convention. We work the Tea Party movement in enough states so that 20 state legislatures will call for a constitutional convention, and we amend the Constitution to limit the number of terms that anyone may serve in the Congress. Term limits.